Hello and welcome to the story of Ranger Bob. My good buddy Jonathan Woolley, the other day we were talking about this Jeep Comanche build that we're doing, a 1988 Jeep Comanche. It's going to be a replica of a forestry vehicle, and he was talking to me about in the magazine business how he had a friend who, with every single vehicle he built, that he came up with a story. So this is the story of Ranger Bob. Ranger Bob was hired onto the forestry department right out of college. He went to Abraham Baldwin College of Agriculture, and also known as ABAC, and got a forestry degree. Okay, and this would have been back in the 70s. And he worked, his way up, beginning levels of a forest ranger, working in different parks in the southeast. And early on in his career, he had kind of some beat up old vehicles. He always kind of dreamed of having one of the nicer forestry trucks. And something that he had learned early on was people didn't really like seeing the rangers come around. Well, they appreciated their familiarity with the area, the general knowledge about what kind of wildlife there might be, but they were a little hesitant about maybe the laws or enforcements that might come with that badge on their shirt. And so Ranger Bob, he was an outside guy. He was an outdoorsman, and he always made sure to be extra friendly. He kept a little extra firewood in the bed of the truck just in case somebody was running a little bit low. He liked to keep some cold sodas in the back. If he saw kids or a guy out, he liked to stop and have a conversation and pop a fresh Coca-Cola or something like that and spend a little time. He'd keep a little extra gas in the back in case somebody ran out of gas, or kept his jumper cables handy in case someone's battery died after a weekend of camping. He loved the outdoors, and he loved sharing it with people, and he always wanted the chance to give people a good thought of the forestry department and what he did as a ranger, as a forest ranger. So as the times rolled on, we're moving into the 1980s now, the Jeep XJ Cherokee came around, and Bob thought those things were pretty swell. And the forestry had adapted to take on a few, and his old beat up truck was ready for retirement, and he thought, you know what? It's time to see if I could put my name in the hat for a Jeep Cherokee. Well, the first couple batches came through, and Bob didn't get the first choice at it. He hung in there a little bit longer, kept getting through. He was always aware that there was a budget, and he tried to even, make sure that he took extra care of his truck. And that didn't go unnoticed. So the forestry department decided, let's try one of these new Jeep Comanches. And boy, was Bob excited to find out he was the one and only ranger to ever get a Jeep Comanche. Now, this is a 1988 Jeep Comanche, Pioneer Edition, loaded, bells and whistles. So it's got that inline 6 4.0 four-wheel drive, and one of the reasons he got picked for it, that manual shift transmission. They knew Bob could work a stick shift, and this thing was perfect. It was lightweight, nimble, could kind of get him in and out of anywhere he wanted to go. The only thing was, it didn't have every single thing Bob would actually like to have on that truck, but he never complained. He just kept a little diary, put it away in his notebook, and put it away in the glove box. And he dreamed that maybe one day he would get the chance to buy this truck from the forestry department and fix it up the way he exactly wanted. Well, the sad part is, Ranger Bob was eaten by an alligator in the swamps of Louisiana trying to save a small Shih Tzu from getting eaten. Well, he saved the Shih Tzu, but he didn't save himself. And on that day, they decided to retire the Jeep Comanche, Bob's favorite truck. And it went off to an auction somewhere. And in that auction, it got sold a few times, placed hands over, and finally landed on this guy kind of in the Marietta area. And he decided he might make a nice little hunt truck out of it. Didn't think too much about it until that old Peugeot manual transmission failed him, got him stuck with fourth gear. Well, he let some friends know, I'm going to sell this thing. I don't want to deal with this transmission anymore. And that's when it came in the hands of yours truly. Yeah, my buddy Knack let me know. Well, he told my friend Kyle, and Kyle told me, hey, this truck's available. That day, I dug into my honeypot money, a little stashed away fund, and went and bought what I call the Mildew Manchi, because this thing had gathered some dirty moss. Well, I picked it up. Sure enough, only fourth gear. We drove it all the way home, smoking that clutch and killing every mosquito within every county, all the way back to Buford. We parked the old Mildew Manchi right in that bay right there at 219 East Marino, Black Bear Off-Road. It sat there a few days, it cranked and ran, and I found myself a BA10 and put that transmission in. And for a little while, it was a really nice truck. It had a horrible paint job on it, so we used some oven cleaner, and after about 100 cans, we had it stripped off to that nice original silver patina. And did a few modifications here and there. Really liked the truck, till again, that old BA10 Peugeot failed me again. So it sat, parked on the side of my building. I had dreams to build it up myself. Until one day, I was at SEMA with my friend Lee and Sabrina, and my wife Nicole, and our buddy Steven. And we were talking about, what are we going to build next year for SEMA? When Nicole had the great idea, why don't you build that Jeep Comanche? Well, I started thinking, I'd love to keep the Comanche, but I should sell it. I've got other projects on my mind. I've got this business to run. But something was itching in the back of my head. Maybe let's just go and look it over when we get home. And that's when I looked in the glove box for the first time and discovered the Ranger Bob diaries. You know, Bob had this dream upon retirement, had he not been eaten by an alligator saving a Shih Tzu, that he was going to start his own department at the forestry called the Department of Adventure. A department that's sole purpose was to make sure you were having a good time while you were on forestry property. Of course, he wanted to keep that beautiful green paint job. He wanted to put a nice little radio in it, maybe keep the cop lights on the top, just in case he needed to, keep people safe. So he thought, I'll just do some amber lights. Maybe there's someone off in a ditch, or I'm helping, some little old lady cross the road. I'll turn on those lights. Of course, I need some work lights in case somebody needs me to light up a campsite, or I need to help a baby deer across the road. Who knows? I'm going to keep to my old ways, though. Keep some tools in the back, Coca-Cola. I'll just ride around and I'll just do good for folks. I'd like to have a little lift on it, make it look good. Some real classic wheels, maybe something machined. Some nice bumpers. Not even sure I need a winch. Maybe I'll get one of those cool portable mile marker ones. Well, when I read these stories, I thought, this story of Ranger Bob has to make it out to the public. And we've got to build a SEMA Jeep called the Ranger Bob, Department of Adventure Jeep Comanche. And so folks, in the honor of Bob, that's what we're going to do. Now you know the Ranger Bob story. Follow along for the rest.